So check this out. I was reading the origin of the Anglo-Saxon race, the study of the settlement of England, the tribal origin of the Old English people by Thomas William Shore. And this is page 107, chapter 7, Our Darker Forefathers. And I'm reading this paragraph. Let's take a look at it because many of you keep saying that England or the English people want brown or dark-skinned people, but read what Thomas William Shore from his research have been able to uncover. So it says this consideration of the probable origin of the great portion of brunettes in two of the South Midland counties of England leads us to that of color names as surnames and place names, which may probably have been derived from their original settlers. So pause. So we're saying that like people, for instance, who have the surnames like Brown, Blak, um, your surnames be coming from the original people who actually looked like those so-called complexions that had settled in these territories that took on those so-called colored names as settled place names or territorial names. All right, and it says this has been derived from the Anglo-Saxon Broun, signifying brown. So the word Broun means brown, like LeBron James. His name, LeBron, means the brown. All right, let's continue. It is not reasonable to doubt that when our forefathers called a man Brown or Brown, they gave him this name as descriptive of his brown complexion. The probability that the brunettes, which means brown, were common is supported by the frequent references to persons named Broun in Anglo-Saxon literature. Broun was a name not confined to England in the Anglo-Saxon and later periods. On the contrary, we find that it was a common name in ancient Germany. The typical place name, Reningfield, occurs in a charter of Ethelstan dated AD 938 in Loco qui Reningfield Dictator. Brunnensham Hans is mentioned in the charter of Edward the Elder about AD 900. So these are Anglo-Saxon kings, by the way, brothers and sisters. And then page 108, Brunsford is another suggestive name. Brunman, which means brown man, is mentioned as a personal name in Anglo-Saxon records of the 11th century, and examples of the name Brunning are somewhat numerous in documents of the same period. At the present time, old place names, of which the word Braun forms the chief part, such as Braunschweig or Brunswick, are common in Germany. The custom of calling people by color names from their personal appearance or places after them was clearly not peculiar to our own country. Pause. So that's something that we still do here in so-called America. Why? Because America was or still is the English Empire. So we are still doing the same habits that we were doing going all the way back, as we can see back in it before the time of memorial, which is like the year 1189. But we were doing this as a customary practices, brothers and sisters. This is how far back our tradition goes. All right, it is probable that the name Brunswick was derived from the brown complexion of its original inhabitants. So, like Brunswick, New Jersey, the name comes from the original name of their inhabitants based off of their complexion, which is brown. All right, it says the map published by Ripley based on the official ethnological survey of Germany shows that parts of the country near Brunswick have a higher percentage of brunettes, aka brown, than the districts further north. Beddoe also made observations on the number of Brunswick peasantry and records some remarkable facts relating to the proportion of brunettes among those who came under this observation. In view of this and the evidence relating to the use of the Anglo-Saxon word "brawn" in English place names, we are not, I think, justified in deciding that all English names which begin with "brawn" modernized into "burn" in many cases by the well-known shifting of the R sound, have been derived from "brawn" or "born" or "string" rather than from "brawn" "brown." Such names as Berningfield and Brunnensham point to the opposite conclusion, but Broun in such names refers to the people, probably so named from their complexions. A large proportion of the settlers in the counties of Buckingham and Hertford were of a brown complexion. It is clear that they would have been less likely to have been called Braun or Brown. You hear this? So England, or we can see the English people or the Anglo-Saxons, which we call today Black. All right, and let's continue. Page 109. It says, by their neighbors, then brunettes would in other counties where such a complexion may have been rarer and consequently more likely to have attracted the notice of the people around them. It is not probable that people who were originally designated by the color names brown, black, gray, or the like gave themselves these names and most likely received them from others. Evidence concerning brown people in England during the Anglo-Saxon period, which can be derived from the place name Broun, is supplemented by that supplied in at least some of the old place names beginning with Dun and Dunning. Dun is an Old English word denoting a color partaking of brown and black, and where it occurs at the beginning of words in such as combination as Dunningland, it is possible that it refers to the brown people or their children, rather than to the Anglo-Celtic word dun, a hill or fortified place. As regards the ancient brown race or races of North Europe, there can be no doubt of their existence in the southeast of Norway and in the east of Friesland. There can be no doubt about the important influence which the old Wendish race has had in the northeastern parts of Germany in transmitting to their descendants a more brunette, aka brown complexion, than prevails among the people of Hanover, Holstein, and Westphalia of more pure Teutonic descent. We cannot reasonably doubt that in view of such a survival of brown people as we find at the present time in the provinces of North Holland, Drenthe and the Overijssel, which formed the hinterland of the ancient Phrygian country, numerous brunettes must have come into England among the Phrygians. It would be as unreasonable to doubt this as it would to think that during the Norwegian migration into England, all the brown people of Norway were precluded from leaving their country because they were brunettes, or that the Wends who undoubtedly settled in England in considerable number were none of them of the brunette type. The survival of some people were broadheads and of a brown type in parts of Drenthe, Waterland, and Overijssel appears unmistakable. They present a remarkable contrast in appearance to their Phrygian neighbors who are of a different complexion in regard to their hair and skin and are especially characterized as long-headed. It was in Guilderland an ancient field was situated, and the men of Thyle and those of Braun were apparently recognized as different people from the real Frisians. For in the later Anglo-Saxon laws relating to the sojourn of strangers within the city of London, it is stated that the men of the emperor may lodge within the city wherever they place, except those of the Thistle and of Braun. The evidence concerning the origin of the broad-headed Slavonic nations connects them with the broad-headed and the still older Alpine brown race of Central Europe. The most generally accepted theory among the anthropologists as the physical relationship of the Slavs is that they were always, as the majority of them are today, of the same stock as the broad-headed Alpine race. This old race has sometimes been called the Celtic, but it is perhaps more accurate to say that it is the very ancient stock which the old Celtic race of the British Brown Age was an offshoot. This curious circumstance consequently comes before us in considering the Anglo-Saxon settlement of England. If the brunette character of the people of any part of England at the present time is due to a survival of the race characters of the Celts of the British Bronze Age, and if this same character has been caused partly by people of a darker complexion and broadheads settling as immigrants among the fair-haired and long-headed Teutons in other parts of England, this racial character in both cases can be traced along different lines to the same distant source. The consideration of the evidence that the people of brunette complexions were among the Anglo-Saxon settlers in England leads us on to that of people of a still darker hue, the dark, black, or brown back settler. There you have it, brothers and sisters. Like they said, probably there must have been some of these among the Anglo-Saxons, where we meet with the personal names Black man, Black men, Blake men, Blackamen, Blackanasunu, Blaka, and Blanchman, in various documents of the period. Blaka was an ealdorman of Lindsey who was converted by Polynus. Blackaman was the son of the Ilric or Edric as a descendant of Ida, ancestor of Ilric, king of Bernicia, and so on. The same kind of evidence is met with among the oldest place names. Blackmanenburg is mentioned in the Anglo-Saxon charter. Blanchmanstone was the name of a place in Dorset, Blanchmanstone that of a place in Kent. Blackshell and Blackenhell are Domesday names of places in Somerset, and Blackengely occurs in the Domesday record of Surrey. The name Blackenman occurs in the Herefordshire Survey and Blacking and Lincoln. Among the earliest names of the same kind in the charters we find Blackenden in Hants and Blackendon in Dorset. The places called Blackmanstone in Dorset and Blackmanstone in Kent were on or quite close to the coast, a circumstance which points to the settlers having come to these places by water rather than to a survival of black people of the old Celtic race having been left in them. So there you have it, brothers and sisters. They're letting you know that not only did they have melanated people who came by water, but there was also melanated people who were already there, who was considered the indigenous people, and they had blending into each other. So as they say, the Anglo-Saxons were brown people. The English people are brown, or those folks we call black people. And the proof has been left here through the names from not only what we call ourselves via surname, but from the names that we see that's left down in the evidence of the territories that we predominantly now domicile, especially here in America. So with that being said, brothers and sisters, just be yourself. Peace.